Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn Series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done-For-You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Pinal Sitaram is a franchise owner of Buffalo Wild Wings. He's an entrepreneur with multi-franchise experience. His desire is to build an organization that empowers stability of life through work within the communities they serve. Over the next 3 years, Pinal's commitment is to add 8 new franchise units. Pinal, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good, thank you. So you've been a franchise owner with Buffalo Wild Wings for the past 16 years. What led you to do that at that time 16 years ago?
The brand itself was in its infancy, and I kind of knew of it growing up in the East Coast, in Ohio and Michigan, in my college and high school days. So when my wife and I moved out to California, we decided to take this journey. And my background is finance, and her background was international studies. And we didn't have any kids, and this was the right play for us at that time, it seemed, to create the cash flow that we would need to survive in what is a very expensive state.
Sure. So finance and international studies, did you, either one of you, have any restaurant experience leading up to
that? We did not.
What about your experience as a franchisee? Had you had experience as a franchise owner leading up to that?
I did.
Can you tell me about that?
I was the franchisee for PostalAnnex prior to Buffalo Wild Wings. And then PostalAnnex is a retail shipping type of store, like a UPS store. It's a local brand from Southern California, franchise. And then also franchised a Best Western hotel in Southern California, which Best Western is more of a franchisee-ran organization because franchisees are the members that ultimately own the brand. That was my prior experience. And prior to that, I did work and develop and construction and ran a general manager, Holiday Inn Express.
What kind of, as a prior franchisee from, non-restaurant entities, what made the restaurant industry attractive to you?
The ability to serve so many.
Okay.
And that could be equated to transactions.
Okay. Where was your first Buffalo Wild Wings location?
In city of Murrieta, California.
What were the early days there like as you guys kind of just got started?
Well, the brand was not known in West Coast, so the branding wasn't there. And so we had to work significantly harder. Both my wife and I put in so many hours, practically from 8 a.m. Well, 8 a.m. is when the first person would get there. So I'd generally be there by 7:30. And for the first 4 or 5 years, probably would be there until between one of us until closing, which could be 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Oh, man.
And
so
we had to pay those dues because we didn't know the game.
Sure. What were some things that you kind of, realized that you didn't know as you were kind of starting that journey?
The size of the operations.
Okay.
The industry itself, which is very, it's a very tough industry. And California is a very tough state. And our timing of opening was, we opened in 2007 of May. And so that was right at the cusp of where that economy, before we hit the Great Recession. Yeah, so that's what the beginning was. There was a lot of so many, everything was a new learning curve.
So how was it different than how was operating a Buffalo Wild Wings franchise different from your other experience as a franchisee, and what did you realize quickly?
um the money coming in and money going out.
How so? What do you mean?
So Buffalo Wild Wings, when I got into it, the size of the money, the volume that would take place was something that was, you can say, almost 3 times, 4 times greater than the last volume of business that I ran. And then when it comes to employee count, it was also 5 times greater than the employee count that I had before. And then when it comes to scheduling and the hours of operation, and juggling all that, that was very difficult. Try to satisfy everybody as much as you can, stay within the lines as much as you can. What transcended very well and kept me going was the ability of, the service side of it, the hospitality side of it, the fact that I could relate to the people that were coming in, the fact that I didn't feel like I was getting worn out working, 15, 16, 18 hours a day, because the conversations were always there to be had. And through those conversations, you pick up more and more faith. Um, we also exhausted all of our personal lines of credit, but besides that, what it is the energy that the community ultimately gives to you while you are serving them. And when you get so much of that blessing in return, I think that's when, we avoided a couple of bad position of sellouts. When we got into this company, it was in its infancy. So immediately when the Great Recession took place, you can imagine the amount of buyers that wanted to come in and, get these franchise territory rights.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've had it on lockdown for all these years anyways, but still. So it was the people that worked with us, that went through the trials and tribulation in the early days, that created the value for the sweat equity that we had put in, that kept both my wife and I going. And then we learned more, and then we learned more, and we had kids, and we started raising them, and all that good stuff that life gives you, that's much more valuable.
So you guys had been putting in some serious hours for the first few years there. At what point did you know that it was time to add more locations, and how did that come about?
I think that came about in two ways. One is the stability of when we realized that what we're doing has been good, and we've turned the tides, because usually that happens with time. And then you have enough of the human capital that, we've created the loyalty on the ground with in the trenches. And then most importantly, what was awakening is, when we, who is now my partner, but, at that time, my partner had come on board, was working with us for 6, 7 years, and who helped, kind of alleviate a little bit of the stress that we were going to battle ourselves. And so when I realized that I can create an opportunity, if that's what you want also as we grow, then we can go on to the next. My personal goal was always to get to 2 units. That's because I had, just sentimental reasons, but 2 units is what I was, because I have 2 kids, right? So like
okay.
that.
So how many do you have now then?
We've got 2.
Okay, two units.
Yeah.
Okay,
Of Buffalo Wild Wings. Yeah.
great. What is what's the key to operating 2 as opposed to 1? You said you were putting in, between your wife and yourself, you were basically working around the clock. What's kind of the key to now being the owner and manager of 2 at the same time?
I think the advantage is that it's in the numbers. So again, you have more people that you're building, a product with on the ground with. And so and especially given where we are, so I'm glad I wasn't at 1 when we went through pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it helped knowing that we had more bodies to service.
You mentioned the pandemic. How did COVID impact or change your operations?
I think it brought people closer.
What do you mean?
I think something that I could have never trained or even verbalized, was naturally verbalized and trained on a human level. People that were in the trenches got to see what the reality is. And all of this, everybody had a preconceived notion of what the industry was going into this, worker and the owners. And I think that changed and is changing really rapidly as we speak.
You talked about how you kind of started, or you kind of invested in Buffalo Wild Wings when it was kind of in its infancy stages. Did you have to do anything to make people aware of it, or does the word wings just work?
No, not really, actually, because at that time, wings itself was just coming off of appetizers onto the full screen. I grew up with Buffalo Wild Wings in college days, where it was a counter service. You go up to the counter, you order, you get a pager, you go sit down. Whenever it's done, you go pick up your order, and then you go. If you wanted a drink, you go check out the bartender, order it, pick up your drink, go back. So that's the system that I grew up with. The system today is much different. So I think it's evolved.
What's your goal for expansion over the next few years?
So we are doing 2 full service restaurants over the next 36 months. We've been asked as one of 19 operators to also go test their Buffalo Wild Wings Go, which is an express model. And so that will be 5 units that we will be doing. So that's the work ahead of us right now. And then we also have another franchise, which will be opening up another unit of that this year. So that's how we get to the 8.
Is that a restaurant or is that something else?
Retail.
Okay.
Like educational centers.
Oh, great. So how can people find out more about your Buffalo Wild Wings locations?
Well, we're a national brand, so you can look us up on www.buffalowildwings.com.
Okay. And one is in Murrieta. Where's the other one?
Temecula.
Okay. Great. Last question for you. When you visit Buffalo Wild Wings as a customer, what's your go-to item?
Mango habanero wings. And I like the chicken sandwich, crispy chicken sandwich.
Okay. Very nice. Hey, Pinal, it's been great to talk to you. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
Yep.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.